Newcastle United overcame the Reds this weekend in Nottingham Forest, beating them 4-3. But there's another bigger, huger red wave coming at Anfield against Liverpool tomorrow. Can Newcastle make it 2 wins back to back? Let's find out here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Shea. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Shea
Good evening, good evening, good evening, folks. I hope you are well and are blessed in whatever you are doing. I hope you've had a great day, whether you're at work, whether you're about to go to work, whether you're listening here in the UK, whether you're abroad, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. I'm sure glad to have you guys this evening listening to me on Toon Tactics TV, folks. So tonight we're going to do a match preview for the Liverpool game, and I am very blessed to have Mr. Big Preach be able to come on the show tonight at 10:30 p.m. to help, to work together. We're going to preview the game. He's an ardent Liverpool fan, and I would say an expert on all things Liverpool. So I'm really looking forward to having him. But before that, we're going to do a brief, or somewhat brief, match review for the Nottingham Forest game. Two sides, two very different halves, to say the least. But we're going to review it nonetheless, and hopefully at the end of the show, I have one. I'm gonna have a player that I'm quite excited, relatively excited to do a little profile on, for many other reasons. So do hang around for that. Right. So let's kick it off. Match review. Nottingham Forest. Let's see. Where do we start? First of all, the first half, I think. Right. Bit loud on the mic. Here we go. Right. Let me put it up in terms of I've got an interesting. I wanted to discuss what I was really happy with. Well, first of all, I was unhappy of going for 1-0 down. I think it was in the first 5 minutes or so. But I want to be able to talk about some of the goals we scored and the approach we took to the game, which I really like to see. Let's review. Let's before I do that, let me just have a look on the. I want to be able to see just a couple of the stats to kind of give a little overview of the game itself. Let's put this one down. Stop this screen. Share the next one. Share a couple overviews of the game in total. Obviously, we know that it was very much a game of two halves. Here we go. Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. Make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. Right. So let's look into it. Game of two halves, literally. 4-3 Newcastle scored all four of our goals in the first half. The lineups, obviously, I don't think people were too surprised. Obviously, we heard the day after the preview for the show that Tonali had some possible muscle issues or possibly even a hamstring issue. He was on the bench and obviously came on the game with 20 minutes, 15 minutes to go. But the young Lewis Miley, who I thought had a decent game, came on as well. I didn't realize he was both-footed, but he is. And he came on, had a good game alongside Bruno Gomes and Willock, who I thought had a pretty good half, especially first half against Nottingham Forest. Obviously, the lineup isn't the backline isn't a huge surprise. Obviously, off Pope, Nick Pope came in for Dubravka. Not soon after, we hear that Dubravka obviously signed his contract. Then Pope comes in and plays instead. Now, not saying there's any particular connection, but it is interesting that that coincidence happened. But Pope Pope came in. I'm not overly surprised that Pope came in, though obviously we know that Dubravka has the advantage in terms of his footwork on the ball. But I think there's two factors that Pope is better, which is saving, shot stopping itself, but also he gets off his line a lot quicker and a lot further than Dubravka does. And this helps us, especially with an aging back line who are reluctant to push up sometimes when they know that their keeper is also reluctant to jump in at the back as well. And I think that goal that we suffered against Man City, against Mamouche, the ball over the top really caused Howe to rethink a little bit what he wanted to do in terms of this game going forward, Nottingham Forest. Consistent Mag FC, and you are Mr. Consistent, absolutely. Good evening to you, sir. Hi, Philip. Good evening to you, sir. Hope you are well. Hope you're blessed in whatever you're doing. Just doing a quick overview of the Nottingham Forest game before we do a preview with our man, Big Preachers, coming on as a Liverpool fan. So obviously that's the lineup. The attacking momentum generally, again, you can see this is very, very clear to see. First half, Newcastle absolutely dominated the first half and made it count with the 4 goals. Obviously, 2 from Isak, 1 from Isak, 1 from Murphy, and I always forget the third one. Isak, Murphy, and Miley. Of course, Miley came up with the goal as well. The equalised, actually, really well taken, coolly finished. And that even though Nottingham Forest went 1-0 up in the first 5 or so minutes, was it 5 minutes or something like that? I was raging a little bit after that. I wasn't raging, but I was upset. Second half obviously told a story of its own, and we'll discuss it a little bit as well about how that went and what Newcastle could have done a little bit better, but they didn't. And why I don't think Eddie Howe will be overly. He didn't look overly upset, and I don't think he would be. I don't think he would. I think what matters to him more is probably the results rather than the performance, really, at the moment. Right. So let's look at the general stats again. Overall, if you're looking at overall, we expected goals as 3 goals for us. We scored 4, 2.91 more than Nottingham Forest. We equaled the same amount of chances. Had less total shots, obviously. Not the second half, Nottingham Forest really came on strong. Our goalkeeper had to make 2 saves. He let the other 2 in. So, he didn't let them in, but obviously conceded them, whereas theirs made 1 and conceded 4. Corner kicks are pretty even. Fouls. Overall, we had more passes than them, so we had a bit more possession. I think we had about 57% possession while they had 43 overall. But if you split the game in half, which we'll do in a moment, total shots 13 to us, 17 to them. Shots on target 5 each. We hit the woodwork. Obviously that Shah header as well. Shots off target 5 to them, 3 to us. Block shots 7 to them, 5 to us. Shots inside the box, and this may be why we scored. We were a bit more clinical than them. Shots inside the box, 13 to us, 10 to them. Whereas they had 7 shots outside the box, and we had 0. Our approach play was far better, in my opinion. We had the more accurate passes. We had way more accurate passes, actually. They had more final third entries, so more passing to our final box, which obviously, again, that's that second half. I think most of them came in that second half, final third passes. We were, again, a lot more on the long balls. Duels, we won the bet of the duels. I would love to see that. It shows our intensity, which is good. Ground duels, 50-50, fair enough. Aerial duels, obviously, we dominated that with Dan Burn and others, done really, really well there. Defending, we had to defend a lot, especially in that second half again. Interceptions, we put up a low block-ish. Yeah, we did put up a low block in the second half, hence why I've got a lot more interceptions than we had before. We're dead even on recoveries. Errors that led to goals. Errors that led to shots, 3. And that second half, again, is a big reason why. We prevented at least just about 1 goal, whereas they prevented just 1.36 goals as well. So their keeper had to make at least one big save. So, and literally it is a game that is a tale of two halves. We went 4-1 up and we very much relaxed. Not relaxed. We went into that low block in that second half. An idea being that we would hit them on the counter, but we weren't as effective in our passing as we should be. And before we kind of get into that, let me see. We've got a few comments here. Consistent Mag FC, I'm all right. I am blessed, living life to the full. Thank you for asking me. What's the latest with Trafford and Antonio Condero from Malaga, the right winger? Well, yeah, I mean, we talk Trafford, according to Craig Hope from the Daily Mail, he's all but wrapped up. You know, he feels like that. Well, from Craig Hope, he pretty much feels that that's going to be possibly even our first signing. There's a deal in principle agreed with Trafford since last summer. We couldn't agree a fee with Burnley, but I'm pretty. Reading between the lines, I think that they are Newcastle are pretty much close enough with Burnley on a fee to be agreed. And I'm pretty, from the way Craig Hope is pretty much reserved in terms of like him in his like kind of predictions, or not even predictions, him saying, oh, certain players are coming on. Just like he was pretty strong on this one. So I think Craig Hope's happening. This Antonio Cordero thing is meant to be wrapped up ages ago, but again, Craig Hope and others are saying, yeah, look, his parents have visited, it's going to get over the line, So let's see. Until he's actually over the line, we won't know. But he seems to be an exciting player. I think Jake, I forgot his surname, Jake Armstrong, did a thread on him on X. So he did a little report on him, which I am going to go through in a few weeks' time together with a number of other under 23 players, just to see what our future is looking like as well. So hopefully by then, Mr. Cordero will be finalised and we'll be able to it gives a little bit more purpose in what we're talking about with him. Aaron Cave, good to see you. Good evening to you. Hope you're well. Evening, Philip. Hope you are well. I am blessed. Now, I want to show. I'm almost tempted to see the first half. I want to show a clip from the first half and the clip from the second half. Obviously, due to copyright, I have to like flick on it a little bit. But what pleased me, especially in the first half, was our intensity and going forward. So let me see if I can share this part of the screen, especially in our first goal. We really targeted from our left side, which is their right side, where Ola Aina played. I didn't realize that. Obviously, I listened to a few reviews from the Nottingham Forest fan channels, and Ola Aina hasn't been at his best lately. So it might be a reason why we targeted him. But oopsie daisy, I think partly why we targeted him is because he's the player that when they do advance, especially when they kind of have a little bit of an approach play, when they play out from the back ish, or when they do press, Ola Aina is involved in that, and they created a space at the back, which causes space on his side of the pitch, and we really target that with Willockino. I was going to call him Willockino, with Willock, Isak, Lewis Hall, who I thought was immense in both halves. One of the few Newcastle players, in my opinion, who was good in both halves. Pretty much man of the match, really. I don't think I'll come a much surprise to anybody. So let me remind myself which I want to. Is it the first? So we target that left flank, and we scored pretty much two of our goals from there. And literally, they're like carbon copies. It starts off with Nick Pope rolling out the ball to Lewis Hall. So 23:50. Let me find it. Make sure you guys are on it as well. Let me get you guys here. Obviously, by this stage, we are. Make sure you guys can see that. Yeah, you can see that. All right. So literally, both goals. Nick Pope starts off by rolling the ball out to Lewis Hall. What time is there on this? It's meant to be 23:50. Why is it so small in here? Let me find, because the time is so small. You have to really look. And my eyes, even if you had glasses on, or is that the goal? That is the goal. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. So let me just back it up just a little bit. Can I get it back to Pope? That's the Lewis Miley goal. Is that the Lewis Miley goal? It is. All right, let me see. Is that it? Oh, these are highlights. I think that might be the highlights. Let me see. Thinking the
Bruno Willock.
whoops. Take off the sound. Let me see if I can get it. That's Isak with a very lucky penalty. Like he tried to do that Panenka and he almost got caught out. Almost got caught out by Matt Sells. Where are you? 2350. Gosh, the writing is so small. What's going on? I can't see a thing. 20. Okay, here we go. Yeah, and it starts off with Pope. It's supposed to start off with Pope. Let me see, let me see. We'll get there. Or was it 2450? I was 2450, that's why. Right. So let's get it. Let me see. Here we go. And you can see by the way Pope rolls it out. And by the way, the time it rolls out of Pope's hand and gets to the opposition goal, it's about 13 seconds. So they went from our side of the pitch to their side of the pitch in about 13 seconds. It's absolutely incredible. So here we go. So here we are. It gets into Pope's hands. He rolls it out to Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall then gets off to a runs towards the halfway line, just before that, getting off to Gordon, who then in a very lovely way there passes off there, a nice little 1-2 between them, gets back to Lewis Hall, who then drives into that midfield. You see Isak peeling off there from him. Willock peeling off from him with Isak on the left, and it gets it. You can see Murphy there on the right. There's an overload already, and because they got into that half space where Ola Aina was supposed to be, Ola Aina, you missed it. I missed it. Ola Aina actually, if I just rolled it back here, is up here on the centre line. He went to try and defend against Gordon. So his whole thing, if you see Gordon's here, he's actually, here we go, let me just play it. Gordon is the last player here, and Ola Aina is going to press up against him, leaving this flank at the back here. So really good movement from Gordon. He kind of knew that I think Newcastle knew that obviously Gordon's going to be marked by Ola Aina, and I think Ola Aina's instructions were, wherever Gordon goes, you follow. So Willock then comes in to fill in that space, or Isak comes to fill in that space with instructions that obviously for Hall, either pass it into that gap or drive into that gap and get the ball off to those two. And this is what they've done really successfully. Obviously, the pass comes across now and gets through to Jacob Murphy. Really, really well worked out. And really well done from the team as well. And again, like I said, it wasn't by coincidence. They targeted that left flank. Literally about 7 minutes later, the same things happen. Again, the ball is rolled out. So let me get it to the time, 31:59. You can see here, make sure you guys can see it. Can you guys see it? Yeah, you can. Exactly the same thing. Pope picks up the ball here. He's looking. It looks like he's going to try and get it to Willock. Willock goes, no, hit it straight to Isak ahead of me. But what Pope is doing, he's waiting for Lewis Hall. He's waiting, he's waiting, he's waiting, and he gets it off to Lewis Hall. Carbon copy. Lewis Hall gets the ball, drives into that middle half again. What happens again? With just Willock ahead of him here, Willock's on the ball. You're going to see Gordon appear in a moment, and you're going to see Ola Aina following Gordon. Here he is. He just gets into our frame here. This is Gordon. He gets into the frame, and who's just behind him? Ola Aina, leaving a big gap in behind him. Newcastle knew, Eddie Howe knew this was going to happen. And what does he drops him very cleverly. Willock continues his run, knowing that I can't see who's chasing him. Is it Wood? Can't be Wood. Wood can't be chasing him. I think Wood is chasing him, and he's never going to catch him, leaving this big space behind for Willock to drive into, which he does. And Willock then gets the ball off to, obviously, to Isak. With this big gap there. Isak does what Isak does. First touch, shoots, and scores. So it was really well planned, and really well done from Newcastle in terms of like the game plan itself, knowing how to break down Nottingham Forest, how to doing what we do best, hitting teams on that transition, which we didn't do enough, I think, in the first. I know that we won our first game at their ground 3-1, but the first half, you guys remember, was it was quite slow. We didn't have the same confidence at the time, but I think this time we said, you know what, we can spread the pitch, we can hit them on a transition, and we can do a lot better in terms of just like moving the ball quicker and splitting them, breaking them down if we move the ball quick, and they did. And Gordon did really clever movements, getting Ola Aina to follow him and allowing Willock, Isak, or Lewis Hall to plug that gap in behind. And again, we're very, very clinical in putting our goals away. Before I talk about the second half and maybe why I think we didn't do as well as we could, consistent Mag FC, and then obviously we've got a big preach joining us in about 5 or 6 minutes to do a match preview for this Liverpool game. Consistent Mag FC, the game at Anfield for Isak's debut, been thinking if he was not actually offside since that. We'll never forget it. We'll never forget it, isn't it? That was emotional. That one was emotional. Oh, let me bring that back up. So what I want to, it's not even. I've just got a couple of images in terms of what I wanted to share about that second half, which is obviously we defended in the low block, and the idea was to hit them on the counter, which is not a bad idea. You're 4-1 up. There's no need for us to press and to risk it at the back and risk injury. Not even injury, but you don't have to be as intense when you're 4-1 up. You can take the brakes off the handle, and I think there's a mental battle of essentially where you're not as intense, but you still got to keep a level of intensity, which maybe which was what I think the players fell in and out of. So if you guys can see, let me make sure you guys can see. There you can. So this is literally in that second half. Nottingham Forest, and obviously Nottingham Forest have got how many players have they got in our half? 6, 7? They've got 7 players in our half. And obviously they're going for it. They've got 45 minutes. They're thinking, okay, let's go for it. So they've got 4 players. They've got 7 players in our half. They've got 3 players either in the centre bit in the circle, leaving us to defend their goal. So that they're risking it. And so if Newcastle, once the play does break down, have a chance to counter attack. But every time essentially that we did have the opportunity to do so, we didn't make the right pass. We passed it straight back to Nottingham Forest, and it just led to wave after wave of attack. And literally, John Anderson, obviously, who comments on Newcastle United games, kept on saying everything I was thinking. We just kept on making the wrong decisions. And then our game management got worse and worse and worse. And I think the frustrating part was, again, where we conceded 2 goals from set pieces, from corners, which was the frustrating part as well. Again, this is from that second half. You can see Nottingham Forest here are pressing up. This is not what they usually like to do. They don't like to, don't usually press like this, but obviously they're going for it in the second half. Again, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me zoom a little bit. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players in our half. They're trying to. I think it's Morgan Gibbs White on the. I think Tonali's come on at this stage. Man marking. Morgan Gibbs White is man marking Tonali. Wood is obviously on Pope, just close to Pope, and so they're really trying to force us into a mistake, trying to make us go long. And fair enough. I do think though at this stage maybe Miley or Bruno can go alongside Tonali or something like that to play it out. Because at the end of the day, there's only about 3 players, and the Forest players in the other half. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Newcastle players. So you can imagine the other half. We've got Gordon, Isak, and Murphy, who can beat their defenders for pace. But again, we made really bad decisions, not good decisions at all, in terms of getting ourselves in one-on-one situations with their keeper. Again, another example, there's Nottingham Forest in our half. Again, they've got 4, 6, 7, this time 9 players in our half. And obviously we're forced to defend, we're forced to bring more back players as well. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players of our own in our half as well, because they're overloading us. But again, even in this example, we didn't make the right decisions in once we did break down their play to get the ball back into their half as well. And I think we caused a lot of the problems ourselves in that decision making. And that's, again, something for us to look for in our game management. It's something that we can do. Would we like a little bit more technical players? Yes, but it was even our technical players, in my opinion, who were making these mistakes in terms of not getting the ball to the front line and in the right areas as well. And again, encouraging Nottingham Forest to make wave after wave of attack on us. And I think it just became a mental fatigue, a mental battle. And why, again, we allowed 2 goals from set pieces, one of which, I think Lewis Miley, again, was weak in the challenge. He could have cleared it, not allowed Milenkovic to get his foot on it. And I think, again, that's something to work on as well. We were fortunate because if that game ended 4-4, I think there would have been a mental and emotional, negative impact, in my opinion, from that if that were to happen. So, thankfully, we got the result. I think maybe what I saw in Howe's face after in the interviews, that when they were doing the post-match interviews, was probably more relief. Other than that, I thought to myself, man, we've got to, we have to do a lot better in terms of how we manage these type of games. But there's a team who are about to play next to Liverpool, who do know how to manage games, and I'm very, very excited to have our guest on, Big Preach. Just to say, first of all, one of the humblest guys that I've come across in terms of on this YouTube thing. Expert knowledge, in my opinion, on all things Liverpool, reps his club in the most respectable and gentlemanly way. And I'm very, very excited to have him on the show. Let me get him on. Preach. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, pick up. Nice, son. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. Big up, family.
Yes, sir. Yes. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm well, finally on the show, been patiently waiting for this invite. You said at the right time, so we're here, man. So yeah,
exactly. So like this is the obviously the first part of a 2-part series. We've got a little matter of a League Cup final coming up. But before we get onto that and all of that, and before we kind of look at the lineups and everything else, Liverpool. I want to talk a little bit about Liverpool at the moment to kind of understand where you guys are coming from a like how you guys might view this game, from your motivation, psychological, mental point of view. Like, you've just won against Man City in a very, very professional manner. Excuse me. I mean, what was your thoughts and from that game, and like what does it tell you about kind of what space, like mental space, the players are in right now, the club is in right now?
Yeah, like yeah, I have to speak up Slot. I don't know what he's said, yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever he said, he's got them to pull up their socks. I think that's what it was. And I think against City we saw something that I've been kind of throwing out for a while. The experience in Virgil, Van Dijk, just those guys that have already been through that battle with City. So that experience there, I think we witnessed that, and just taking advantage of a weak City. Do you know what I'm saying? I think City they have gotten better since like the 7 in a row.
Yeah.
They've gotten better from there, but they can't handle a quality organized team right now.
Yeah.
If the team knows what they're doing, each and every one of those players, that's what City can't handle. If there's a bit of confusion in that team, maybe low confidence, I think that's a team that City can beat. But if you know what you're doing. So yeah, very like I thought, to be fair, like I just thought City might, just because it's a big game, special occasion. I thought that would be enough to bring the City that I don't want to see. But yeah, as the game got along, I was just like, no, they're still not there yet.
So so was it as much as City being bad, but as much as Liverpool being good? Because I feel like when I hear, and I know rivals aren't necessarily meant to talk nicely about other rival teams, but at the same time, I think I'm still surprised that people can't seem to acknowledge that I think Liverpool have a better squad than them. Like they just have a better team than them overall, and that you deserve. Like there's always seems to be these excuses in terms of just, they're only doing good because we're doing bad. I mean, like whether you're talking to Arsenal supporters or to other rivals and stuff like that, Man City, like there seems to be that lack of acknowledgement that you have a good team. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts is about that. Do you think it's a case of other teams not doing well, or do you think it's a case of your squad is better than maybe even Liverpool fans thought it was?
No, I feel a bit of both. So yeah, the other teams ain't doing well, so it's like there's nothing to push Liverpool to that level. They haven't needed to go up that gear. Like, and I only say that like Pep's century season, you get me? Those things like were about the push, the rivalry, you get me? How close the other team was going in it, and they had to do more and better and stuff like that still, so to get the 100 points. So like things like that I don't think it's happening to us right now. So like Arsenal losing to West Ham.
Yeah.
Like that's most probably, that was like the first time we haven't had a pressure match in a while. You know what I mean? Like in the league, like a lot of it was just like, everyone's waiting for you to wobble. So there was still a bit of nerves. But from as soon as they done that, but at the beginning of the season, there was no pressure. Do you know what I mean? So we was kind of walking through teams, playing real good. But then like pressure, so you start to see the wobbles, the draws, not taking chances here when could have. So it looked a bit shaky. We get into that place again. But yeah, I think Arsenal losing just kind of opened the door a bit more. It's like, right, we can relax a bit more now and let's just play this game. But I think like once again, the experience part was just like, but there's still a lot of games to go. We're not there yet. Let's do well in this game against City, get the 3 points, statement game, and they follow through. So yeah, right now, very confident, a lot more confident before like the City game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So right now though, obviously the next game is Newcastle, and you've always heard me say it's Newcastle. I think whatever the result is, it's going to be spectacular. So yeah, I mean, it's a draw. It's a spectacular draw. Win or lose. Yeah, so I don't know, but I just know it's going to be spectacular. So
it's not going to be a boring game. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Like
100%. Yeah, 100%.
no one's going to be snoozing. And in terms
Yeah.
of like just coming into this game, so like is the other, because I was wondering, because I saw the Wolves game before you guys actually played Man City, and I think I can't remember, you was maybe 8 points ahead them times as well. And my thoughts were, because that was not, I won't say as go far to say a poor game, but it wasn't, Liverpool weren't the same Liverpool essentially a little bit. And I wondered to myself is, when you're that far ahead, right? Like, is the battle then with yourselves, like in terms of just not being complacent? And that's the first part of my question, and kind of relating it to this game now, which I don't think might be the case, but you're what, 11 points ahead now? 10 points ahead now?
Yeah, 11, yeah.
11 points ahead. Being this far ahead, do you think, if you do agree with the first part, which is, yeah, maybe there's that complacency creep in when you're that far ahead, do you think that'll be one of the big obstacles or challenges coming into this game against Newcastle, or it might be something else, might be something different, really?
Possibly. I've seen it in games, like if just in the 90 minutes, I've seen it in that level where against Spurs, and then we conceded the few goals. I've seen it. I feel like, yeah, so I feel like it's there, but I don't know. I don't know for tomorrow. I don't believe so. Like, there was a lot. It was a big statement, a City game. I think there was a lot in it, and I don't know. I don't think so. I don't believe that will happen. I don't think Slot doesn't give me that type of energy manager that will let that happen. Once again, standing on the experience of the other players, like they've been in. I know they haven't been in this position, but they've been in the league before, and it slipped up. So I don't know. I just feel it's different. There's a lot more. Yeah, just a lot more involved. I think the whole team believes in the project as well. I think even like the subs, as you know, like I watched the last show. You're talking about the minutes, but I feel whatever category you pick, they all believe in the role. They understand that their position. Like Endo is like the biggest example, of like mentality. So I don't know. I just feel like it's different. I feel like last season, like even Salah and Klopp had a little argument. Do you get me? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, is everyone kind of happy with this, with what's going on? Like, I feel like Klopp was asking a lot from the team now. I think he was asking for like maximum all the time. I think it was a lot. Because I can only say that now in hindsight, because Slot's. You know what I'm saying? So it feels a bit like that, but Klopp done what he's done, and like so now I just feel confident. Like I feel like this time last season, I'd be nervous.
You've been there,
yeah, that for sure. Like I would be like, but now,
a lot more calmer. I've got a comment here from Consistent Mag FC. I've seen a few Liverpool fans on Twitter recently saying they would let us, in Newcastle, win the cup to focus on league. Would you agree with that, Breach? Would you agree with that statement?
Do you know what? Yeah, I did think about that. As well. That was funny. I have thought about that. Yeah, like only if we was in a position where it affects us. I don't think it's affecting us. Like I don't think it will affect our season, win, lose, or draw naturally. So I don't think it's gonna affect. I don't think it's gonna affect the Premiership run. So I wouldn't take that one. I wouldn't take it. I'll be like,
part of me thinks that this is what my own kind of challenge for even Newcastle fans, because part of me thinks that people assume that because obviously Liverpool will possibly prioritize the cup a little bit less than obviously than the Premier League or whatnot. The Premier League's a bigger thing, and people are saying, "Oh, you're going to put less emphasis on the League Cup because you've got the Premier League or the Champions League." I still look at that as an advantage for Liverpool, because when you go into something as important as a final in a relaxed manner, like you did against Man City, you're even more dangerous rather than, imagine if you guys were fifth, sixth in the league, you're out of Europe, and this is the one chance you got of gaining a cup. You're already out of the FA Cup. There's a lot more tenseness now. We'll slot the right man. His Salah's going to leave. Van Dijk's going to leave. You have to win. You have to win. You have to win. Right. So there's a lot more tenseness on you guys to win. Right. Whereas now, when you're coming into it fairly relaxed, we win, we don't win, but like you guys are league cup holders anyway, right? You come into it, I feel like that gives you guys an advantage, whereas for us, which I keep on stressing on my own channel, is we've got to stop mentioning this. We haven't lost a cup, won a cup in the last 55 years. It's been 70 years, and interviewing people that were alive to see it, and and putting up on, we had this thing in I think it was in our ground, one of our changing rooms, like a big old TV saying, it's been 69 years. Like, and every time a player walks in, they see that. And I'm thinking, what's the point? So I feel like, yes, it's important. Like, it is. But we've almost got to, number one, act like we belong. And it's like this second final in the last 3.5 years. We've got to act like we belong. And we've got to have almost a relaxed attitude. Not an attitude we don't care. That's a lie. We do care. But we've got to manage it. So I don't know what you think about that.
You deserve to be here, kind of.
Exactly. Exactly. I think people are assuming that, but I don't know from your point of view that people are assuming that because Liverpool might prioritise the League Cup less than the other cups, that gives Newcastle an advantage. Whereas I think a relaxed Liverpool is.
So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't think Slot thinks like that. Like he played, I think he plays according to who's in front of him and what he wants to achieve as well at the same time. Because I feel like he played a stronger squad against Spurs in the League Cup, and then obviously then we did against Plymouth, like in the FA Cup. So where we value the FA Cup more than the League Cup. So we wouldn't even. I don't even think anyone would have called him wrong for playing academy players in the League Cup and getting kicked out. Like people, do you know what I'm saying? It happens, kind of thing. But he played a strong squad, so I think he looks ahead in terms of where I can rest players, and if he knows like now, I think final is early. We're not in the FA Cup. So we won't be playing like 3 games a week and stuff like that now. So like FA Cup weekend comes, he can rest the player. He knows that they're all resting no matter what kind of thing. Yeah, I know the schedule's a bit different now, but I'm just saying in terms of that. So FA Cup weekend, we can rest. So I feel like he will play a strong squad the weekend before if it's a league match. You get me, kind of thing. So personally, I don't think he plays like that for us to do that, where we play like we'll prioritize the League Cup. I think he knows it's a final.
Exactly.
Like I don't think he'll go all out though. I think maybe tactically he might calm down a little. I think in terms of personnel, I think he'll pick a strong squad and just be like, all right, look, maybe let's just kill them with passes, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, less running up and down. We need the energy for the Premiership game, so maybe a bit more tactical kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe try, I don't know, maybe a few training ground kind of stuffs. I don't know. Like I feel like he will calm down in that manner, and instead of going all out for it, kind of thing, where we run out in it. But he definitely still play a strong squad, and then I guess maybe break it down from there. Do you know what I mean? Like depending on the score. And then who will come on, do you know what I'm saying? And so, I know he does something at the 60-minute mark now. Yeah, that's his favourite mark, so.
No.
Is it me or you? You're glitching?
Nah, it's me. It's me. It happens to me sometimes. I have to like go. I think when the team is that relaxed, which I expect Liverpool to be. We're really about the final, but again, we've got to like knock you guys off your kilter. And sometimes these games do get fiery. And I think that's when it gets, I think, that's at least switch the momentum a little bit. Oh, stop moving around. Right. So, speaking of tactics, let me put the board up and see how you think and thanks, by the way, for sending in the lineups in advance as well. Appreciate that. For Liverpool, and let's get this on. Here we go. Can you see this? Can you see it?
Yeah,
have to zoom in a little bit. Should I zoom in? I'll zoom in a little bit. Right. So,
yeah, that's cool.
So for Liverpool, obviously, you said to me a 4-2-4 formation. Jones obviously springs up like this as well, in and around like that, kind of adding to the 4-2-4 attack. So you've gone for kind of a same lineup that you guys played against Man City. So Szoboszlai, Jones, Salah on the right, Diaz on the left, McAllister and Gravenberch, who've been exceptional in the double pivot.
Yeah.
The main man, Van Dijk, Konate. On the right.
Oh, just me, guys. Taking over. I've taken over, fellas. It's just me here. I think his camera's gone. But yeah, I've gone from that squad. Coming back shortly. You got to play that squad. It's the squad that I played against City. So yeah, I've got Jones and Szoboszlai.
Have I been off all this time?
Yeah, you've been off for a while. Yeah, we can hear you. Can't see you now.
Oh my word! It's all crashing out.
Yeah, it's all right. I was just telling him. No.
What do you think you can?
I hear you. I can't even hear you. You're glitching. Your sound glitches with your camera. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's know about your thoughts on the game in terms of your lineup.
Yeah. So how I feel, I think this is possibly the strongest squad we've got in terms of tactics and just it working. I think rhythm, flow, the game. This is the best one. Like I feel like some way Jota and Núñez breaks up something. It feels like, I don't know, like when they're up front. I don't know what it is, but like once again, it could have just been the occasion. But the City game, this made sense. And then an on-form Gakpo maybe would start for Diaz.
Okay, because there is a question here from Aaron saying, surprised about the Liverpool lineup, was expecting Gakpo or Núñez to start.
Yeah, Gakpo, sorry, not a fully fit Gakpo would start over Diaz. So I don't think he wants to. Yeah, I don't believe he will rush Gakpo in. I think he'll come in maybe like I said, the 60-minute mark. Gakpo may come in. So Diaz has had a bit of resting time, so he should be all right, really, man. But Jones and Szoboszlai seem to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just causing problems, and I think Szoboszlai, because of the energy thing, we're not really missing Núñez.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah, like Szoboszlai covers that void, that Núñez, because we're not really expecting the goals from Núñez. Do you know what I mean? But we're expecting the energy everywhere on the pitch, causing problems and chaos. So we expect that. But Szoboszlai does that a bit as well, but just from maybe a deeper position. So yeah, but I've gone.
I wanted to ask you because I was looking at a few clips from our game, especially around the goals or like different, like the highlights and stuff like that. And there was a lot of like similarities in terms of here. So, like for instance, Newcastle. So you guys press up high. You know, your press is incredible. Newcastle would go into a 4-4-2 formation and keep it really, really tight at the back here with Isak and Gordon playing narrow, almost right next to each other typically. So you guys would have this type of space of Trent and Robertson pushing up with Van Dijk and Konate.
Camera's gone. Camera's gone. And your sound, camera and sound's gone. I bet you can still see me though. But yeah, Isaac and Gordon looks dangerous. Murphy, got him in my fantasy league team. Don't get it twisted. I'm not.
I'm going to keep it my integrated camera, which is a bit fuzzy, but it's reliable. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So
nearly there. Loading up.
Me. What's going on today? Right. Let's see. Let's see how it goes now.
No. It's gone straight away from the start. But yeah, Aaron, I think that's just me anyway. I feel like Slot might play Nunes. I wouldn't be surprised. But that's why he might play him. Sorry, just as you said that, I could see him. I can still see him playing though. Like this is what I like this formation. I like the attitude, everything against City. So I would pick this straight away. Like, why change anything? But Slot sees things that I don't see. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nunes plays. Yeah, you back?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you now.
Yeah. So you're saying you can see Szoboszlai staying on rather than Van Dijk, right? Not Van Dijk. Nunes.
Me personally, after the City game, like, why would you change it? Like, do you know what I mean? But I was even just saying to Aaron that I could see him playing Nunes though, just maybe because of like he pops up in it. Like it might be one of those games for him. So I don't know.
I think so. Why I think you're right. Why he might not play Nunes straight away is I think Nunes is better when you guys are in when the game is stretched. Yeah. So I watched our earlier game highlights of the game when we played at St. James's Park, and Newcastle did this 4-4-2. Let me get this up, where they played really, really clustered together. Oh, can you? It's not like I'm putting me on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you. Yeah.
Crazy. Today's crazy. I've never seen it like this. So can you still hear me?
Yeah.
So we were really clustered like this together. So what that meant was it forced Liverpool to hit the flanks, right, as much as possible. So that's why most of your goals came from Salah on the left. And at least that way, if we knew that we can hold it down in the center, it gave us one less thing to worry about. Because if you're cutting through the middle and cutting through the left and the right,
yeah,
the game's over. And what we've done really well is making sure that we kept that center really tight in that center and kept it covered. And what happened was at times we was able to break on you. Because then what would happen is this part. This became a really kind of danger zone. Because if once the play got broken up, say we got the ball back, say say Tonali gets the ball, you try to get the ball up to Szoboszlai here, yeah. What would happen is Murphy will break out of the 4-4-2 and join. So you see a lot of attacks came from like this. So they'll just spring up the quickest players. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Listen.
So then what would happen is hopefully Robertson's trying to support Diaz and cause, would also try to be up front or whatnot. So what would happen is you would get these kind of 2v1s on Van Dijk's side or on Gordon's side, kind of overloads, forcing Gravenberch and McAllister to chase backwards, which is not a nice thing to do against Murphy and Isak and Gordon. So we kind of kept you honest in terms of that. So, but it's still a risk, obviously, in terms of you guys having the ball so much, you're so good at whether you get the ball out wide, for instance, Robertson can cut in like this, and then obviously outflank as well. So Bruno has to make sure he slots in here, for instance, allowing Shaw to come out. So it's like an ongoing thing. Like it's like relentless from what Liverpool can do if you're not careful in terms of what you're doing, like in terms of how you're defending. It's all good defending, but if all you're doing is defending, you're in a lot of trouble. So that's the part that was interesting. And the last thing I wanted to get was the part where we've got the ball, which I really like, but again is dangerous. But I don't know how many teams do this. Like you see the Isak goal that everyone that people talk about a lot. The top bins one
against us.
Yeah.
I can't forget.
It came from. Let me get your players in order. Trent, Salah, Jones just behind Szoboszlai, Robertson on the left. So it came from us. When we're building up, we have to be brave. It's no long. Yes, sometimes we hit it long, but we also had to be brave. So what would happen is Isak through the center here, Murphy here. But what kept you guys a little bit honest is Livramento pushing up like this. Because when you've got Livramento on this side, Robertson can't just say, I'm going to go up, right? Or which one do I defend? Van Dijk can't just fully focus on Isak by himself. That's a problem in itself. But he's got Murphy next to him. So I think that's why people saw, that's why Van Dijk went a little bit backwards. But I don't think he expected Isak to do what he's doing. Now he knows. So what happens is we push up like this, but it has to be brave. Bruno McAllister, what's his name? Willock on Gravenberch, Gordon like this. And because our depending on what side we're on, but say we're attacking on that right side. Bruno was here. So Bruno would there's a level of bravery that has to happen here. Newcastle free at the back here. Dangerous because again, if the ball breaks, you guys can go from one end to the pitch to the other in 10 seconds flat. So Bruno actually picked up the ball here, and it was McAllister who came to try and nab it off him. But Bruno was able to skip past him. I don't know who played for you in the first half. Do you remember who played for you in the first half? It wasn't Szoboszlai.
No, I can't remember.
But he rounded McAllister, Bruno. And actually Tonali was right next to Isak when this happened. What that allowed is this situation to happen. Isak and Van Dijk 1-on-1, but then Murphy right next to him because Robertson's worried about Livramento, right? If there's no Livramento, Robertson comes in here and Van Dijk is like, come then.
Let's focus,
Right? So Livramento's here and Van Dijk is like, I can't just go in tight on him. Do you remember, was it the last season when he got a red card, Van Dijk? Going tight on Isak and got sent off?
Was it a red card? So he's had that.
Or was it yellow? Was it yellow? He got yellow for that?
Yellow, yeah. So it was a yellow, not
Or was it yellow, yeah? Right. So Isak picks it up and obviously and then obviously hits it top bins. But if he doesn't do that, for instance, and if the danger is always if Bruno doesn't get it to Isak, and for instance, Szoboszlai cuts it out, what happens? Now you've got Diaz, now you've got McAllister, now you've got Salah, now you've got Jones or Gravenberch, and it could be all lights out by then. But you have to do it. We had to do it to keep you guys honest. And that's why that game was so I think it was it ended 3-3. But Salah, who again I didn't talk about him enough, him against Hall That's my a little bit of concern. Even though Hall's been revelation for us, but Salah is just so effective. Like he's tell me a little bit about how he has been with you guys all season. Like, what's your thoughts on him and like the records he's breaking and everything else?
He's just got the feeling that it's just gonna be him. Like, you know, like you kind of think who's gonna show up today, like, and you just know it's just gonna be him. Like, it's very rare that it's not him. That's what's one. But like now, but confidence with him, like there's always hope. Like the very few times we've gone behind, it's like I've just been mad relaxed. Like, okay, Salah hasn't had his moment yet, so you might get a draw out of this, you lot. You get me? It's only 1-0, so. But no, man, it's just been great. Like I was saying, I think the experience, Slot's just been smart with him. He's just like, all right, you know what, less defensive duties from you, unless we really need it. We know you can do it, you know, but unless we really need it, then yeah, don't stay up and just cause problems. Give them something to think about. I think is like the long balls from like the cross balls from Virgil. He's just been taking it from the air so smoothly, like the first, and that's just been like, I think that's just been part of the whole reason why he's had like so much success in his attacks. That is like touches and controls just been so on point. Where it's been a bit less kind of just chaotic and the ball bubbling past players and jumping off his knees, and you get me, like kind of getting through people more. It's been a lot more controlled just because of his first touch, a lot of timing. So now, and he's been great. He's been great this season. Like this is what we've been kind of wanting for a long time, like that kind of recognition. Do you know what I'm saying? But like I think with everyone, what they keep talking about, why he hasn't won the Ballon d'Or before, it's because of I think it's just because of the season outcome as well. Like you've done well, but Liverpool ain't really won anything major as well. So do you know what I mean? You've been doing good, but did you break proper records? You get me? You kind of just did things that the greats have already done, kind of, if that makes sense. So this season, if he doesn't, I don't know what. Do you know what I'm saying? We'd have to
with the Champions League and the Premier League, isn't it? And or one or the other, isn't it?
Yeah, like if we got a trophy with it, like the record. It's just good. I'm happy that he's getting the recognition, man. It's about time. But that's what I'm saying. We're coming from the inside of the club, so we're seeing it more than the outside. Do you get me? But it's nice that he's getting the recognition, and I agree with everyone. Like, where would we be without him? Like, I do agree with people saying it. I'm like, it's true. Where would we be without him? Like, it's scary, but it's not the reality. So I guess enjoy it. You know what I mean? We have got him. He's staying fit. He's doing well. So this assist, the goal and assist thing is wild, though.
Yeah.
Games with a goal and assist. That's beautiful. Like,
nice. No, I agree. Before I get your conclusion and prediction on the game, I'm going to read a comment here from Aaron Kane. I'm praying Botman is fit for this game. Personally, I would opt for 5-2-3. Okay, 5-2-3, like we did against Arsenal. To give us more control against Salah. Also think Miley deserves to start after the last game. I think with the reason why I haven't included Miley is, I agree with you, he does deserve to start, Miley. Why I chose Tonali, and I want to probably get Preacher's view on this, obviously from a rival's perspective especially, is Liverpool have a very aggressive and very good midfield in Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Jones. And especially in these parts where a lot of the times when they score the goals against us in St. James's Park, where if it's not Salah, for instance, you get if you remember, the equaliser came from Jones when we were 1-0 up in the second half it came from Jones doing these run-ins in behind. Obviously, Willock in this case would be responsible for tracking those runs. Tonali would be tracking Szoboszlai, I would imagine, or Bruno would be having to make sure he's tracking, excuse me, Gravenberch to make sure that our defense isn't overloaded. This has to happen, otherwise it's lights out. And it's not that Miley can't track them. I just don't know if he's. From what I've seen, I just prefer Tonali's and Willock's a bit more. They have more power and strength. I don't know, Preach, what your thoughts are, and I don't know if you've seen much of Lewis Miley. He's been exceptional for us. He's one of our young talents as well. It's certainly going to be at the forefront of our midfield in the future to come. But if you had a choice between facing Tonali, well, you still could see Tonali, Miley, and Bruno, for instance. Willock might not play, but I think Willock will. Would you prefer Tonali on the bench for this game, for instance?
Yeah, I think just for the for the easy win. If you want to say. Yeah, because it's definitely about the physical power.
Yeah.
Have you seen? I don't know. Have you seen the McAllister's face?
No. Why? What's happened to his face?
He's just got a mad bruise from the I think it was from the push in his face, isn't it? In the game.
Oh, what is it?
McAllister was all over the place in that game. Like,
yeah.
Throwing his body all over the gaff.
What, against us, you mean, or against Man City?
Against City.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after he's posted, he's just got a bruise in it, but he was just all over the gaff. And that McAllister, like the slowest, I think the smallest one on the pitch for us, you get me? So like him throwing his body around, you've got Szoboszlai who's energy, Gravenberch, do you get me? I guess all round, or both of them in one, if you want to say like. So yeah, you definitely need. I think that's what threw off City as well, the physical strength of it in the midfield. I think that there was a lot of things that threw them off.
Yeah,
but you lot are a better team than City. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know City's in a better position, but I feel like in terms of form, rhythm of play, maybe even on paper as well. I feel like we've got a better squad. And so you definitely know what you're doing. So I don't feel like it's going to be a run through like that. But you definitely going to need strength, upper body strength. Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe
to handle it,
yeah. Because our midfield now, that's definitely the physical element of it.
Yeah.
And
I see what Aaron is saying in terms of like us doing the 5-2-3, so Botman being in the middle, for instance, and that leaves Burn and Shah to kind of one-on-ones with Szoboszlai and Jones, and obviously Tonali. So we can with Tonali and possibly Bruno in the middle. I only think is that for me doing a 5-2-3, for me, I think that invites more pressure than necessary. That's my only thing. But I see why it worked against Arsenal. But Arsenal don't have attackers that can go in, go in behind. They play in front of you a lot. I don't think Arsenal are as good as Liverpool in terms of not only recycling the ball, but just whether it's Trent Alexander just hitting a 50, 60 yarder just off the cuff like that, or sliding a through ball to Salah. It's just, I just think that adds to the weight of pressure. And I think, yes, it's a risk doing doing our kind of typical 4-3-3 and not necessarily going like man for man at times. I think there's times you do that. But I think to keep Liverpool, in my opinion, to almost not keep, to some extent, keep Liverpool at bay, you have to attack. Like, you have to be in their half. I don't know what you think of that, Preach. But
so I think it was against Ipswich, and they was doing the low block. And I realised that there was about 2-3 occasions, Gravenberch, we had them in their, locked in their own area. Gravenberch was just in front of the D, and he was getting the ball from there, turning, and a quick through ball to whoever was in front of him. The play was getting defenders was getting the ball in the way, so it wasn't clear chances. There maybe been about one, and I realized that that's what he does. That's what Slot does against a low block. But then it was Bournemouth, and it was doing a bit of the low block. But I think because Slot respects Bournemouth's attack, Gravenberch couldn't get so far up to
right.
the ball in the area. So I feel the same with you. Like you're gonna have to attack. I know I'm not forget the result against Bournemouth, but in terms of the play and how confident they were, I saw a bit of respect. Like Gravenberch couldn't get right up to the D, and
so if he gets right up here, if Gravenberch starts getting here, it's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, but I don't think he gets there if there's respect.
If we've got an extra midfielder, so
I don't even, but I don't even know if it's just the extra midfielder. I just feel like your play, like the games that he might have studied, he respects your attack. So,
right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what I feel like. That's where if Gravenberch makes a mistake there, a team like Newcastle will punish us. If you get the ball on the counter attack from there, like you're saying, Murphy will most probably be dropping back, and then we lose the ball. He joins in with Isak and Gordon. So I feel like and then we've got to deal with the problem now. You get me? So just to be even just safe with that, I can't see Gravenberch pushing up so much, unless like I don't know, you lot are just for some reason just lost so much confidence and we smell blood. That would be the only way, but I can't see that.
The only way.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. So I feel like we've definitely got to be cautious in what we're doing, and I'll know just depending on how much risk Gravenberch is taking. That's the one that I can tell through the risk of Gravenberch. If he's really pushing up, then I feel like we may have got you. But if he's staying back, then it's like, no, we recognize the danger.
That's why that type of insight is what I should be doing, having guests on a lot more often. So that I think you hit the nail on the head. So I think Eddie Howe's got almost the right approach to a Liverpool game, really. You have to attack. Like they have to respect you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've almost told you, I've taken you for way longer than time, but I appreciate you staying on. But
that's cool.
So before you go, say it again.
I'm saying it's cool. I got no issues. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir. So give me your predictions before you go, and let people know where they can find you as well.
I really don't know. I would say I feel something like a 3-2.
Again, that time when they gave you like 10 minutes when they should have given you 8 minutes injury time. But okay.
Yeah, 3-2. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if both teams. I don't know if there's I don't know for Newcastle, but I feel like there's an element of like what's the word I'm looking for? But like research, like live research.
Yeah, don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, hide some secrets and plays. See what you've got as well for the final, because so I feel like it's one of those kind of playground test out games. But it's Newcastle, Liverpool. I always say that like the crowd doesn't affect you lot. You are used to the loud crowds.
Yeah.
I've never used that as an element against you lot. Like, no, the crowd's gonna scare them. You lot get that as well. So like that's what I think. I always say it's going to be spectacular and deserved the result.
Right.
Like, so but I feel like we'll pinch this one by 1 goal. So like I'm saying 3-2, but could be like a 2-1 as well.
Okay. Well, I had something close. I had it as a draw. I had it as a 2-2 draw. I think, like you, and that would be a good mental win for us as well. There's a bit of play your game. I think the coaches will be saying play your game, but I think there'll be a reserve. I think, for instance, Aaron mentioned Botman. They said that Joe Linton's fit, and somebody else. Botman, Joe Linton, and somebody else is fit. Tonali's fit. I wouldn't be surprised if he even keeps these guys back, even to a certain degree, because if you're talking about research, and then plays these guys in the final.
because then that changes. Joe Linton changes the dynamic of a game. Tonali changes the dynamic of a game. Botman changes the dynamic of a game compared to, like, for instance, Botman or whatnot. It changes everything, a lot about how Newcastle are. And it might be that we might lose the war, we might lose the battle to win the war.
Yeah.
You know, but that'll be a risk because we've also got Champions League, trying to qualify for Champions League. But so it might be an element where I've gone almost full circle where I said Miley won't play and Tonali will. It might be that Miley does play. We might keep the same team we played against Forest and keep Botman, Joe Linton, and Tonali in reserve. Huge risk, but it's funny because I've been saying to folks all this time that I hope to God that Newcastle are not, like, we lost a game previously. I forgot who it was to, and people were saying, "Oh, it's because they got the League Cup on their minds." I don't think it's that, but I think for this game, you can't help but feel that way because you're literally playing.
I don't agree with that thought process.
Yeah.
I think is it Simon Jordan on TalkSport, and they was talking about Trent. I think it was the Man United game? He had a poor game. It was one of, I know he's had a few, but it was just not
the Man United game.
Yeah, not his day. And like on the headlines was like, "Oh, Madrid's on his mind. Right. But Simon Jordan was like, "Nah, like in like when you're a professional, like when you've got like opportunities and doors that are open in front of you, you actually do better.
You do more,
you do more. The only time you do less is when things are like properly going down a hill, like all the doors in your door.
Right.
So so like I don't feel like like I feel like these moments is like, no, this is what we really want. We want, because like, actually you most want top 4 and the league. And
exactly.
You know what I mean? Both. Like, not everyone wants to do like
domestic cup double even. FA Cup as well.
You'd rather, innit? Like, I'm sure they say, which one would you rather? Like, would you take the League Cup over like no Champions League? But like, I think that's what you're saying in terms of mentality. You should be like, no, we can get top 4 and this and the cup. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, and I don't feel. I'll be honest. I don't feel like you are. Yeah, well, I mean, you're there right now. You're not far off.
Exactly.
I'm saying that you're in the race for top 4 and you're in the final. You're still in the cup, so you are doing really well. Like, I don't know what do you think it is then? Like, what could like cement that positioning? Like, yeah, we do this top 4 thing. Like, if you slip out the top 4, it was a mistake. Like, if you know what I'm saying, and
the only thing that could let us down, and I don't think, hopefully, God willing, it won't, because we're getting to the final 10 games slowly but surely, and if we keep up this form, I think we'll be all right. The only thing that's going to stop us is, like I said in my earlier show, in terms of we haven't been able to rotate the squad as much as we like, so injuries and suspensions can affect us. We're still in the FA Cup and stuff like that, but we've been navigating it quite well so far.
Yeah.
But what makes me sure that where I think we have the advantage over like your Villas, your Chelseas, who else are we competing with? And a few other clubs, Man City even, in terms of getting the Champions League is, I think we're you let me know about Liverpool, but I think we're the only team so far this year, and I heard people saying it, who have won, like we won 9 games in a row.
Yeah.
And including league games as well. So I think maybe Liverpool like won 4 games in a row, 4 or 5 games in a row. So there's not been a lot of consistency. I think we can do I think we stand the most chance out of Chelsea, Man City, Villa to do another run. I think Villa lost again today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they've invested heavily.
How do you feel like about how you start your seasons? Like, because I always Newcastle, because I feel like I always hear Newcastle go on a great run, but usually I always hear it kind of later on down the line. Maybe it's around the Christmas period. I don't know. Newcastle go on a run. Then, do you think it's something maybe with the start of the season? Because I feel like you got the squad to get the top 4.
Yeah.
Do you think like the first game of the season is like it's a very important game now. Instead of like, let's see how and feel what kind of Newcastle we're gonna see.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really mixed start this season. Like we
Yeah,
weren't really good, lacking confidence. And it's like maybe 2-3 months in when we start getting some real consistency and putting things together. The season before we had major injuries, so it was hampered, and obviously the season before that we're going to the Champions League. It's only now that I think we've made some changes in our infrastructure in terms of getting performance director who deals with injuries and stuff like that. So we've been like doing a lot more better in terms of when we bring players back in. For instance, we've done really, really, really well with that. But I think, like you mentioned here, obviously Aaron Kane, get rid of PSR and FFP would help. You know, the PSR and everything else we haven't bought a first team player for 3 transfer windows now. I dare any other team to do that and still say they're gonna do as well as what we're doing at the moment. That's why I think Eddie Howe's such a fabulous coach. So I think we're navigating it well. I think if by March-ish we're still 3 points, 6 points in and around the Champions League spots, I think with a healthy squad, I think we're the team out of those bunch that can have the biggest chance of being consistent and winning more games in a row. Why? Because we've done that. We've done that already. So, so that's what gives me that. So,
and
so go on.
Is 5th spot a guaranteed Champions League place?
That's the thing I don't know, but people are talking like it is.
Yeah, I haven't heard if it's been confirmed. I've just heard the rumors.
So long as you guys win the Champions League, I think we should be. But
but people also you'll take that. Yeah, it's just as long as it's Champions League.
Champions League would be important. Like Champions League would be important in terms of keeping players. It makes it easy to talk to. It makes it easy to talk to Isak, right? and to anybody else. And having a shiny trophy next to you also helps.
Straight.
Do you know what I mean?
What I'm saying is like, is it top 4 as in status as the club, or is it like? That's what I mean when I say like top 5. I know you're happy with Champions League, but it's top 4 is like, you know, like people are gonna say, "Oh, you're lucky you got into Champions League. They just gave you the 5th spot." So people try and downplay it. Even you've got what you got, but they'll try and downplay it. But I'm saying top 4 is saying we earned this. You get me, kind of thing. Is it a more that kind of thing for you, or is it like, no, let's just get the best in that we can get? Champions League, even if it was 6th spot, I don't even care. We're in there now.
No. I think I see what you're saying. So for me, like my expectations for the season were, so I don't look at it in places, I look at it in points. So Newcastle to have between 64 to 68 points. We got 60 points last season. That's when we had terrible injuries. And we've managed that a little bit better this season. So I kind of said, okay, let's do a little bit better. We're doing that. And I said semi-finals and finals for cups. We're in the final of the League Cup. And, you know, we're in the 5th round, 6th round of the FA Cup with Brighton at home. So they're ticking all the boxes. And by and large, we're performing pretty well so far. And if things continue in this particular trajectory, we're going to have the latter part of what you just said. We're going to get the Champions League and we're going to do it well. There's no, man, this is the 4th best team in the country. Type of thing. And who said that we can't be 3rd? So there's nothing that says that can't happen. So
and because Forest in it, they're not proven. So
they're not proven just yet. Yeah, they're not proven just yet. And who knows with Arsenal as well? If you don't have a striker.
Okay. I see you. What you're aiming for.
But we're a long way off. But yeah, I think Eddie Howe. For me, the owners, Eddie Howe, everybody showing the learning. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's my hopes anyway. But Preach, let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Big Preach 100 on your socials, Instagram, Twitter, and you'll find me with the gang, man. Rivals
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. So get me never a foul. I'm here and there. You get me. So see me around. But yeah, follow me. Big Preach 100 on the socials, man. But yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Big up the chat, Aaron. Big you up as well. Big up here, man. Appreciate it.
Big up to you, Big Preach. You've been incredible today, and your insights have been invaluable. Make sure you have a good evening, sir, and see you tomorrow on the Rivals.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
God bless, sir. Take care.
Yeah. Signing out. Yeah.
Sign out. Take care. So, folks, we've got that prediction there. We had obviously our main man, Big Preach, there from giving us his insights on Liverpool. Really, really interesting. I hope to do a lot more invites to the show, especially Big Preach himself. And yeah, incredible guy. And really, really good opinions and insights into Liverpool. And that he's given us his prediction, which was 3-2. I think I gave a 2-2. It'd be really good if we do that. It adds to our momentum, in my opinion, hopefully. But the last part of the show I wanted to talk about was a player that I was when people see it, they'll be like, why are you excited about this player? And it's not even just about, I have to kind of like lay the foundations here. I'm not just excited about the player, like maybe excited is a strong word. I think more in terms of where I think the club is possibly heading to, if this is true. So just hang with me for a minute. Like, I'll just say it from now, I'm not going for a superstar, but I am kind of more talking in broad terms in terms of where I think maybe the squad structure and everything that's might go for Newcastle. So, that's the tactics board. Let me take that off. It is. Let me share my screen with you guys. Where are you? Where are you? Is it here? Is it here? No. Yeah, here we go. Marcus Tavernier. Marcus Tavernier. Now, why am I excited about Marcus Tavernier and the potential purchase of him coming to our team in the summer? So it was reported via TBR, Mr. Graham Bailey himself, that Newcastle are interested in signing Bournemouth winger Marcus Tavernier, who's valued at around £10 million. And this is, let me make sure, this is from TBR directly. And he is the brother of James Tavernier. For those that remember, who've supported Newcastle for longer than, when James, 10 years maybe? A little bit less than that. So TBR understand Newcastle United. And I want to point this out. This was a story that came out in and around the time when Luke Edwards kind of dropped this really comprehensive article on Newcastle's transfer business. If you guys remember from last show, he dropped like 10, 12 names that Newcastle are looking at. Antoine Semenyo, Mbuemo, everybody that you can, Dean Huijsen, everybody that you guys have been on the news. He said, yeah, and they're looking at all these other players. So that kind of took over things, as well as kind of showing our transfer approach. And then on the same day, Craig Hope said that, look, James Trafford, Newcastle are looking to tie up the deal in the summertime. There's already kind of like an agreement, a personal agreement in place. Like this is all but done, really, without saying all but done. So this story from Graham Bailey from TBR got lost in all of that because one, it's obviously that the publication isn't maybe as relevant or as big to Newcastle fans itself. Compared to Craig Hope and compared to obviously Luke Edwards from the Telegraph, and two, Marcus Tavernier doesn't, get pulses racing as much as an Mbuemo, as much as the other players that were mentioned by Luke and by Craig Hope. But it got me interested in terms of because I was thinking to myself, why are Newcastle looking for what I at the time thought was a left midfielder? So anyway, let's go to the story and we're going to dig into this. So TBR Football understands that Newcastle United are doing their homework on Bournemouth number 16, Marcus Tavernier. Eddie Howe is keen to bolster the right side of his attack, the right side, no matter talking about the right side, with Newcastle particularly looking to threat on the flank to mirror Anthony Gordon's on the left. TBR understands that Newcastle are close to signing Antoine Godero. That's the talent that we talked about before. So let's go. He resembles Gabriel Martinelli, apparently. Now sources have informed TBR that Marcus Tavernier is a potential option for Newcastle. Graham Bailey, who's the chief correspondent at TBR Football, I think the story is probably the first journalist, Billy Myers, but it's important to put your boss's name on it for yourself, but also to make sure that you've been rubber stamped. Chief correspondent at TBR has now informed that Newcastle are doing the groundwork on a potential deal for Bournemouth, or for the Bournemouth number 16 this summer. So I don't know whether they've essentially just said they're working on a deal. Essentially, I don't know if that's where they're going. Tavernier, whose brother played for Newcastle before Wigan in 2014. Yeah, so it's been over 10 years. Has enjoyed a 24-25 campaign. TB understand that Newcastle also have obviously Brian Mbeumo on the shortlist, along with Johan Bakayoko and Mohamed Kudus. So the Magpies are always admirers of Tavernier's Bournemouth teammate Antoine Semenyo. So you have to include all these names to make the story, important. Marcus Tavernier has previously said about Newcastle, if a move for Tavernier, who Bournemouth paid 10 million for in August 2022, does materialise this summer, he would be returning to familiar surroundings. The 25-year-old also spent time at St. James's Park alongside his brother, leaving the academy to join Middlesbrough in 2013, but has strong ties in the area. So speaking to Bournemouth official websites last season, Tavernier said, most of my friends are Newcastle fans. I grew up in Newcastle and lived there while I was at Middlesbrough, and I know a lot about the city and the club and everything to do with it. So, Philip, you might ask, Marcus Tavernier, like, what's the big deal? Like, he can't be our answer to, us moving forward and what we're trying to do. He's not a ceiling raiser, and he's not a ceiling raiser. But in order to explain why I'm excited about it, is I have to go back to what I talked about before about how Newcastle potentially could be looking to grow their structure. And I'm going to go back to a little bit what I said, and Big Peach mentioned it. The show I did around, seeing how squad works and in terms of the minutes they've played and the various kind of how a good squad, an excellent squad in Liverpool and in Bayer Leverkusen, who compete on all four fronts, how it's made up of almost like these different category of players, key rotational players, youth and academy and development, and versatility players in order to keep the team and the squad functioning. And where Marcus Tavernier plays a part in that as a versatility player as well. So if you guys remember, let me scroll down a little bit here. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, you can. Where is it? So that's Newcastle. So this is Newcastle's squad currently after how many games? I think we did it after 33 games. Obviously, we've now played 34. But this is what I did in the last show. We played 33 games. And, the players, the 9 players, the high dependency players have pretty much played the maximum amount of time and minutes for Newcastle United this season, between 2,500 and 2,000 minutes. And there's 9 players that Newcastle are dependent on, highly dependent upon to do that. Dan Burn, Bruno Gomes, Lewis Hall, Anthony Gordon, Joe Linton, who's now injured, Alexander Isak, Fabian Schär, Tino Livramento, Sandro Tonali, who we had a scare about being injured. And we've got a very, very small group of 2 players who are regular contributors. That's players who play regularly, but are oftentimes are substituted quite early off, or come on. Like, so obviously Nick Pope, he's been rotating with Dubravka. You saw Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy is the other player who you saw coming off today for Barnes. So our rotation is very, until recently, obviously we've seen Callum Wilson come on, Harvey Barnes come on in the game, looking really rusty as well. But our rotation is really, really limited. We don't have enough players. And why is that? Because you can see 3 players who are our rotation players. Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock is playing more regularly now, and Harvey Barnes has just come back from injury. So and then we've got a backup and development of Kieran Trippier, Lloyd Kelly, who's now sold, and Emil Kraft, who mainly plays in FA Cup and league games. So we have a very, very limited group of players who are able to rotate with our regular team. If you compare them to Liverpool and Big Preacher, you guys saw earlier, talked about the show. He was impressed by this, where he said, and Liverpool by this is obviously before the game against Man City. So they've played 39 games overall so far this season, including Europe and domestic competitions. Liverpool this is the game before the Man City game. So they played 38 games. They, for instance, if you can already tell the difference in ours, they've got the maximum load they've played so far is 3,000 minutes. We're between 3,000 minutes and 2,500 minutes, where they've got 4 players they're highly dependent upon, which compared to our 9, we've got 9. So we've already got 5 players over them that we're not able to. We're having to play increasingly a lot on the pitch. And they've got 7 regular contributors, so players who do play often, obviously Szoboszlai, Trent Alexander and the likes, but they're, because of the other factors they've got squad rotational players, they've got 5, and they've got youth and development players. They've got a high, they're able to, they've got versatile players. It's the part here I missed here, just here. They're able to rotate up. That's excuse me, not versatile. That's Bayern Leverkusen. Skip the beat there. So Liverpool have 7 regular contributors who played who out of a maximum of 3,000 have played 2,500, 2,000 minutes, who are often either substituted with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, or maybe are dropped in and out of games, FA Cups and League Cups, because they've got another group of players in your Darwin Núñez's, Curtis Jones's, Kelleher, Tsimikas, Diego Jota, who are their 5 rotational players who've been playing 1,500 to 1,000 minutes. And on top of that, they've got another group of 5 players from their backup and youth development in your Conor Bradleys, who unfortunately is injured now, your Jarrell Kwanzas, your Wataru Endos, your Harvey Elliott's, again from their academy, who have been also been phased into these games. I think Harvey Elliott came on in the final 5-10 minutes for the Man City game, for instance. I don't know if he took off Salah. He took off somebody. I forgot who it was. And it allows them to have this situation where at a time when the maximum they can play 3,000 minutes, they've had at least 7 players who've had as much game time as our regular players, even though they've had, as Newcastle's high dependency players, even though they've had less games. So we're at least 5 players short. If we take Liverpool's example of being able to have a squad that is we're able to rotate and be able to perform a high performance throughout the season. This is why you got Liverpool able to compete on all 4 fronts, Europe and domestic and the leagues, at consistent level, because they've got a really consistent squad where they're able to rotate these players in and out. And again, obviously, I looked at it from the angle of minutes, consistency, and how the squad is built. So I'm not looking at individual. I'm not saying just because Trent Alexander I've put him under the regular contributors, that he's not a star player. Of course, he's a star player, but he's a star player who they're able to look after a lot more, because they've got another group of players, of squad rotational players and backup players, who are able to face him in and out of games, and he's able to perform in just as many games, but for less minutes, and be effective. So Newcastle, in comparison to Newcastle, we do not have that. Thankfully, we've got players returning in Harvey Barnes and Callum Wilson's, but we know of Callum Wilson. Similarly, Bayern Leverkusen, we talked about them. This is them after similar amount of games to Liverpool, I think about 36, 37 games. This is them at their maximum. I won't go into them, but again, you can see 5 different groups of players. They're stalwart. This is them in their invincible season last year, when they won all the domestic trophies, the league trophies, and got to the final of the Europe. This is their invincible season, where they had a cohort of a stalwart of the SAS soldiers, the stalwart soldiers, 3 players, 4 players regular starters, 4 players key rotational, 4 players versatile players, and 4 players that were the rotation and development players. So these squads, if you look at Bayern and Leverkusen, if you look at Liverpool, this is why they're machines. This is why they're able to perform at high levels in 4 or 5 different competitions, because they have this squad of players who are able to rotate and they got so therefore they're able to have a high dependency on far fewer players. In this case, in the Invincible season, it was 3 players with 4 regular starters. Liverpool, as I said, after 38 games, have 4 players they're reliant on. Or have a high dependency on Van Dijk, Salah, Gravenberch, and McAllister. Newcastle have 9. And this is why, obviously, recently we've had an injury scare of Tonali, Joe Linton's been out. And so, therefore, this leads me back to Mr. Before I go back to Marcus Tavernier, so I played about with the numbers a little bit. Marcus Tavernier, this is where Marcus Tavernier will come in the moment. If you guys remember, Newcastle are looking to have, as we know, where is it? Here we go. So Newcastle are looking to add 4 players in 4 different positions. We talked about about James Trafford as goalkeeper. It looks like that deal, according to Craig Hope, is pretty much wrapped up. And we've got 3 other positions on top of that, which is striker, right wing forward, right centre back, and obviously the goalkeeper position is James Trafford. So 4 positions. So if we're looking to the season ahead, 25-26, what I did a little bit of a maths, and I said to myself, if you put 4 players into our current squad for next season, what would that do? How would that squad look after, for instance, 33 games on this part of the season, if we were able to fulfill those positions? So if we were able to add, for instance, and don't worry about, I don't like this player, I prefer that player. It's more to do with the profile and position. So if we were able to add for 25-26 season, James Trafford at goalkeeper, Dean Huijsen at right centre back, Nicholas Kuhn, for instance, at right wing. You can have Mbeumo if you guys want, or striker João Pedro, for instance. There could be other players as well. But if we're able to fill those positions, if we're able to look into the future, 25-26 season, Newcastle after 3 games, it could look a lot more like this, resembling maybe a Liverpool or a Bayern Leverkusen. So, for instance, after 33 games, after 33 games, we would up 2,500 minutes. We would go from 9 players we're relying on to 5 players, because essentially we're filling in that striker position. So if we've got a João Pedro, for instance, or a younger player, we would shave off at least 200 to 500 minutes from the players in those positions. So Isak isn't having to play the maximum load of games. He's not playing 2,500 minutes after 33 games. He could be playing 2,200 or maybe 2,000 minutes. So I'm able to put Isak into the regular contributors stage, because we've got a centre forward who's reliable and he's able to play regularly. Plus maybe Usola, if he's still around, or Callum Wilson, or if he's still around, they're able to play in the FA Cups and League Cups, and we're less reliant on Isak having to play in those games. We're also able to take him off, when there's 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes left in the game, and put the centre forwards on, or even rotate him all together, which again shaves off time. The other positions obviously is in the right wing forward position, where you've got Jacob Murphy and I've put in Mbeumo. They'll both go into the regular contributors because they're sharing the time between themselves. And Mbeumo will probably take over after a few games. You know how Eddie Howe does. You have to really earn your spot. But again, we have less players in the high dependency stage. Right centre back, Dean Huijsen would be playing. sharing that spot with Shah. Shah obviously getting older, but still will probably be put into the squad rotation category there between 1,500 to 1,000 minutes. And Dean Huijsen will be in the 2,000, 1,500 minutes as well. So you've got then that position filled, and obviously the goalkeeping position, which would see Trafford coming playing probably most league games with Pope or Dubravka doing the cup competitions as well. So if you add all of that together, again, I'm kind of playing with time and seeing where things are. If you add those four positions, the striker, the right wing forward, the right centre back, and the goalkeeper, we go from having to depend on 9 players after that we're highly dependent on after 33 games, for instance, to then having 5 players that we're relying on with 7 regular contributors, 7 players in the squad rotation, because obviously the players that were playing a little bit less time are playing even less time, who were regular contributors before, are also going. We've got more players than moving down to the squad rotation. So your Lewis Miley's, your Joe Willocks, your Sean Longstaffs, if he's still here, for instance, Dan Burn, Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy. I wouldn't worry too much about the names. It'll probably go up and down. The whole idea is to show that we've got more categories of players, rotational players going into the squad, and even further down, we've got at least 7 players as backup and development. So I think I've got Matt Target here, or Solar, Kieran Trippier if he stays, Kraft, Pope, Dubravka, all those guys there. Again, allowing a core that we're able to rotate into that first team. And so where does Marcus Tavernier fit into all of this? Well, Marcus Tavernier, like I said, is a versatile player. And if you look at even after the 4 players that we have, if we add the 4 players to the squad and we see this, much healthier looking team that could happen in next season, we still have, for instance, 2 midfielders who are having to play a high load of games in Tonali and Joe Linton, and for instance, who Tonali had an injury scare, Joe Linton has been out of an injury. That is a potential problem, even with a Lewis Miley and a Sean Longstaff in the picture. And a Marcus Tavernier, who we're going to talk about his profile in the moment, can fill those positions. And the fullback area as well, we're still quite reliant on, because Kieran Trippier gets injured and also kind of is less. We rely a little bit less on him. Matt Target also, he might not even be playing, and we're going to need players in those positions. Now, I was going to add Alex Murphy, who's in our youth development, but I'm going to talk about it under 23s in a special show. And maybe Alex Murphy can come into the kind of youth after his stint at Bolton this season. He's doing quite well there from what I'm hearing. He might come into that picture, and you might see he might be able, the person who rotates with Lewis Hall, makes things a little bit better. But this is where that leads me to Marcus Tavernier, because Marcus Tavernier can possibly play that position as well. So let me just show you guys what I mean to the profile of Marcus Tavernier. Before I do that, got a comment here from Aaron Kate. For CB, I'd love us to look at Ryan Flamingo, from PSV. Nice player. And get a high-profile right winger. Need a ceiling raiser, I agree. But Tavernier would be a good squad player who can cover multiple positions. £10 million is a good deal. Well, exactly. That's what it is. He covers multiple positions. And speaking of him, let's look at his profile a little bit before we end the show. Appreciate you guys being on here. Where are you? Mr. Tavernier. Which positions does he cover? Is this him? Here we go. This is him here. Right. So, Mr. Marcus Tavernier played 19 games so far this season. And you guys can see here on the right side for Bournemouth, this is after 19 games. He's a left midfielder who can also play left wing, attacking mid or central midfield, right mid, and right wing. He's played there once, but right mid has played 3 times out of 19, 3 times, 4 times in central midfield, 6 times in left midfield, 4 times in left wing. So already he's in a position to cover for Joe Willock, for Joe Linton, as well as support Harvey Barnes and Gordon. But that central midfield area as well, where Tonali and Bruno play as well. Now, you might ask yourselves, like, is he the type of guy that can do that? Is he the type of player? And why are Newcastle looking at him? Really interested in kind of scouting report. I looked at when he first joined. Bournemouth and what they said about him, why he's able to play multiple positions. Let me see if I can find it for you and what makes him so good. And I'll do a quick comparison between him and Joe Linton, for instance, and see where that might open up a little bit more kind of thoughts in terms of him. So where are you? Introducing Marcus Tavernier. This is from The Athletic. Now, this is obviously taken a few years ago when he first joined Bournemouth. When was this article printed? Must have been about, 2022. November 2022. And what struck me is what they said here is, one of the things they said is that, can you guys see this? Yeah, you can. There's a few things they said. So, for instance, according to Opta, where is it? 2022. According to Opta, Tavernier has completed the most dribbles in the league this season, even more than Alan St. Maximin, which was interesting. So dribbling is one of his skills. Tackling is also one of his main things as well. And this is what they said. Bournemouth signed Tavernier to play predominantly as a left wing back in former manager Scott Parker's 5-3-2 formation. So he's going to be like an auxiliary kind of left back. And if you look at Joe Linton, for instance, when Newcastle especially are playing like really, really good teams in terms of Man City, how we played against Man City at home, Liverpool as well, you'd often see Joe Linton becoming part of a back five, helping Lewis Hall and defending on that side. So Tavernier was brought in to do that similar job for Bournemouth because he's also good at another part of aspect, which is defending and tackling. So while he played the majority of the last season in central midfield for Middlesbrough, central midfield, where Bruno and Tonali play, Bournemouth were in need of a naturally left-sided defender, as Jordan Zamora was the only other player in their squad. So he was there to cover for a left-back. So he ended up playing as a left. He joined as a left wing, to play in the left wing back position after playing midfield for Middlesbrough, but also helped cover their left back in Jordan Zamora. So he's covering 3 different positions after first coming in as a midfielder, and he's a very versatile player. As it says, under Gary O'Neill, though, Tavernier has displayed his versatility, playing on both flanks, including the right mid. Largely playing as an auxiliary wingback to make a back 5 out of possession, but also thrusting the team forward like a winger when in transition. This is where the Newcastle puck comes in. This is what we're very good at. We saw it in our review of the Nottingham Forest game. In his first 14 appearances, Tavernier has shown he can trigger a counter-attacking opportunities. Does it sound familiar? On his own, with his tenacity and anticipation to win the ball, and then use his speed and ball carrying to progress the ball rapidly through the third. This is an Eddie Howe player. Can win the ball, can tackle, can win his duels, and carry the ball. In fact, it goes down to show you here in this graph. If you see the left axis, dribbles completed, and at the bottom, average possessive carry. So when they're talking about dribbles, they kind of clarify and say dribble is an attempt to beat an opponent. Simple enough. And when in possession of a ball, and carry is defined as a player moving the ball 5 meters or more. So we'd have seen like Willock carrying the ball, Lewis Hall carrying the ball up the field, like 5 meters or more. They do a lot more of that against Nottingham Forest, but also the ability to get past the player. And if you can see, Tavernier is like in both those positions, he was like more than head and shoulders above everyone at Bournemouth. And this is what Eddie Howe's looking for: a person who's got the tenacity and ability to defend, to win his duels, but also to be able to play out of danger uses skill, uses dribbling ability, uses carrying ability to win, to get the team up the pitch. So he has a lot of same qualities as your Joe Lintons. Obviously not. I don't think as good as Joe Linton, but as your Joe Lintons and a Willock. So he might have the tenacity and tackling of a Joe Linton, but also the ball carrying of a Joe Willock. And what he adds to that is his quality in his dribbling ability as well. And you can see in that 22 season, he was the Bournemouth's number one carrier of the ball. He's also possession value, essentially means goal probability. He's able to create chances as well for his carries and his ability to dribble. But also, Bournemouth heavily relied upon him to be able to cross the ball in his dribbles and his ability to pass the ball. So he's really good also at passing the ball between the lines and making key passes and crossings as well. So that's why he's sometimes put on at right wing or right midfield areas as well to be able to cross the ball. As shown below, Tavernier is also the team's second most valuable pass receiver in transitions behind Solanke. So he takes the ball. He's often relied upon to dictate the play. Similar how we rely upon Lewis Hall, how we rely on Bruno to be able to do that. So he's got real technical qualities. This is in 2022, by the way, guys. So he hasn't got worse since then. He's actually got better. And it gives you some examples of that. There's a real quality in his versatility and in what he's able to do. He might not be the most fanciest name in the pack that Newcastle have been linked to, but he's certainly the type of player that is versatile and cover numerous positions in midfield, attacking midfield, right, left back, left wing back, left midfield, and right. And that sort of player is absolutely important, absolutely quality for what we're looking for. And in fact, I actually do match him up over Joe Linton, and I might match him up over Lewis Hall as well, because Lewis Hall is going to need some time off as well. Guys, remember in the last season, we lost so many players to injuries, because the season before that, when we're going to the Champions League, we were one of the teams that rotated the least in the league. So these players have played a lot of games. We got to the League Cup final as well. And just like this season, we didn't rotate our players. And this is another reason why I'm excited, because if we got at Tavernier, we can avoid the season we had last where we couldn't rotate our players. And you can see him slotting in really, really nicely and rotating for the team, and rotating for your Lewis Halls, rotating for Joe Linton, Joe Willock, and your Tonali's, and for your Bruno Gomeres, is hopefully if they stay, and they can be those and we can have them a lot. We can have them in a lot more games doing the things that they're good at. So let's see how good how does he, for instance, compare against our best left midfielder in Joe Linton. So let me put that. I went on Squawka because that's where I'm able to do a few player comparisons, and I appreciate you guys that are able to stay on. I know that we're heading into midnight hours. I'll give it another. I won't give a time. It won't take too long, but it won't be too long. So make sure you guys can see this. Right. So there are similarities and there are differences, obviously, between Marcus Tavernier and your Joe Lintons. So, for instance, in the touches, bearing in mind, though, this comparison is this season. Oh, so let me just start first of all. So the key part is that Joe Linton has played 23 games, whereas Tavernier has played 19 games. So keep that in mind. I did do it per 90 minutes to equalize it a little bit more. So the metrics are covering them according to the minutes they've played rather than the games they've played. So hopefully that sort of equalizes things a little bit. But Joe Linton has, for instance, has the better shot accuracy, although Marcus Tavernier's got the better shots on target. Joe Linton obviously is a more. Remember, Joe Linton still got that. He started off as a striker, left wing forward. Really, that's how he plays for us. So his conversion rate is high. His passes attempted is better. His passes completed is better. His passing accuracy is better, but not by significant amounts. 4% here, 3% there. And again, Marcus Tavernier isn't supposed to be. They're not trying to find someone as good as Joe Linton, though that would be incredible. They're trying to find someone who can keep the machine, being Newcastle United, going. So when you need to take off Joe Linton for the last 10, 15 minutes, when you need to rotate for the FA Cup games, early FA Cup games, early League Cup games, maybe sometimes in certain parts in European games, you've got a Marcus Tavernier who's able to cover for Joe Willock, for Joe Linton and others to be able to do that. But this is where Marcus Tavernier is able to excel. We talked about his long passes attempted, long passes completed, he excels at, long pass accuracy. So he's actually has a lot more creative aspects to him. Long pass accuracy, crosses attempted, crosses completed is higher, crossing accuracy is higher, significantly higher. Open play crosses, again, significantly higher. It might be because he plays for Bournemouth, they got a different approach, but we saw live how they're able to play. Joe Linton's just a little bit higher in the through balls, but he's got Isak to look at to get the balls to as well. Tackles made 2.4. You wouldn't imagine that, but he's made more tackles just by 0.1 to Joe Linton, but he's got those similar characteristics. Take-ons completed almost twice the number of Joe Linton, and Joe Linton's pretty good with his take-ons. Take-on success rate 43.59 compared to 31.58 to Joe Linton. So he's really good at taking on the ball. Obviously, Joe Linton wins the aerial duels and success duels. But here's an interesting one. Ground duels contested, 11.3. So he contests a lot more than Joe Linton. Ground duels won, 4.7 to Joe Linton's 4.1. So he's got these really good qualities about him where he's able to win the ball. He's able to win his personal duels. So if you take off a Joe Linton, now we haven't had Joe Linton for the last, 3-4 games, and you put a Marcus Tavernier in some aspects, in duel winning, in carrying the ball, in passing and progressing, Newcastle there's a potential where Newcastle are just able to keep on going without losing out on the ability to win the ball aggressively in our midfield, which is really important in our intensive style. Bournemouth is a similar team to us. We play in an aggressive, high-pressing, intense style. And to keep that level of intensity, which we know that we lose sometimes when we go really flat, like the last Man City game, if you can bring on a man, if you can start with a Marcus Tavernier, for instance, to keep that level of intensity going, if maybe Joe Linton's not up for it, Joe Willock is not up for it, or you got to push Joe Willock a little bit up in the left wing forward position because maybe Gordon's not available. You want to make some tactical changes. It allows how to make those tactical changes with Marcus Tavernier around. Ground duel success 40.74, higher than Joe Linton. Touches 58.5 per game. It's pretty good, just a little bit higher than Joe Linton. So, he's the person that Bournemouth really look to. Joe Linton wins on the ball recoveries, but not by much. And that's an important part of our game. Obviously, Joe Linton has a lot more touches in the opposition box because Newcastle do tend to are able to do that because we've got better. We're better at kind of doing that. And times tackled. So my whole point is that for me, this shows that Newcastle won't skip a beat if a Marcus Tavernier comes in to replace a Joe Linton, for instance, for cup games, even for league games, and to rotate between league games, allowing, hopefully preventing, for instance, the injuries. And Joe Linton was off last season for about 6 to 8 weeks because of a hamstring injury. This season he's been off because of a knee injury. And Joe Willock's been playing quite well as well. But Joe Willock himself had a really, really long-term injury last season as well. And so we were, it was up to Lewis Miley, who's not, again, has different qualities, not the same as in terms of maybe winning personal duels. And he's still a very young boy. He was 17 at the time. He's not as strong and powerful as he is now, for instance. But having a Marcus Tavernier, a versatile player, to be able to cover to be able to come in and step in for your Joe Lintons takes Newcastle a long way. So that's partly why I was really excited about this because I mentioned it to you before, where I don't think, this is just my own personal thing, and maybe if I look at Eddie Howe's history, is also, I don't think he'd want to bring in more than 4 players in one transfer window because of the whole integration process, new characters, new personalities, and everything else. But if he is going to bring more than one player, a Marcus Tavernier, who already is familiar with Newcastle, has family in Newcastle, and friends in Newcastle. Most of his friends are from Newcastle. He's familiar with the league, familiar with the culture. He's going to need he will need a whole lot less maintenance than a player that comes from another league, for instance. If, for instance, we get a Magnus Akliouche playing at right wing, he's going to need less attention, but also tactical attention. Marcus Tavernier knows how to play left midfield. He knows how to play in the center of midfield, and even as a left back when needed to. So tactical awareness, it really, really helps Howe. And if we're looking at this now, I haven't added Marcus Tavernier to this, but if we did add a Marcus Tavernier to this, I think it allows a Joe Linton to become more of a regular contributor. So he still might play equal amount of games, even more maybe, because he's got less injuries. But because you got Marcus Tavernier coming in the last 10, 15 minutes of the games, Joe Linton's able to have a break, for instance. And even maybe on occasions, Tonali can come in a little bit less because Tavernier is able to cover central midfield areas as well. And even for Bruno Gomes at times as well. Is he as good as those players in those positions? No. But it's all about keeping the machine going, which is Newcastle United squad, the team, the club, and to be able to perform at a high level in all competitions, giving us the best opportunity to win those competitions, whether it's FA Cups, League Cups, Europe, even the league. It begins by building a squad like this. So that's why I personally hate the question of which do you prefer, a cup to win the cups or to win the leagues. If you build a squad in this way, where you got your first teamers, your ceiling raisers, as Aaron mentioned, your Anthony Gordons, your Isaks, your Bartmans, your Bruno Gomereses. Those are the guys that help you win the leagues, help you win the cup competitions. Like, they're the star players. But you also need your Marcus Taverniers to keep the machine going, to get you through those early stages, to get you through the suspensions, the injuries, even prevent them, or to get over the line. And I think, for instance, if we had a Marcus Tavernier last year, we would have had I think our points total would have upped just a little bit, but would have got us into a European spot as well. So another Marcus Tavernier, I think, will be superb. But also, I've got Alex Murphy there. You guys can see he's, like I mentioned, is the left back that plays for Newcastle United. There's a couple of other under 23s I would love for us to see. You would have seen from the Liverpools, but also Bayern Leverkusen squad. But I think Liverpool have at least 4 or 5 academy players that play in there. So rather than us having to go to other teams to get your versatile players, your players that can be part of the squad, I would love for Newcastle's academy to expand. And I'm hoping to see your Alex Murphys in our squad together with Lewis Miley and maybe another player, maybe a couple of other players from our academy to add to the squad and to help us to become a more robust squad going into the season, giving us a great opportunity to win the league and to win cups as well. And to, like I said, perform in all these areas. So, yeah, that's why I'm going to be doing the show about that in a few weeks, about the under 23s as well. So do look out for that. So that's why I am excited about your Marcus Taverniers and players like him. I'm excited that Newcastle are looking at that because, again, to me, that's an indicator. That is a sign that Newcastle are looking to build an elite team that is able to compete and win trophies in 4 different competitions. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section, and in the share your, even after the show, send in your comments, like, share, and subscribe, guys. I took us 10 minutes over midnight. Some of you might be sleeping or about to go to sleep, but I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We had an incredible guest on Big Preach. We did the match review for the Liverpool section. Big Preach gave us invaluable insights into the Liverpool game. as well. So do look out and watch for that. But also, we did a match review for Nottingham Forest game, and we did a little section on our squad building and how a Marcus Tavernier, or a player like Marcus Tavernier, a versatile player like Marcus Tavernier, can help take us to the very, very top. Where I hope to see our Newcastle United to be at. So guys, I appreciate you guys for being on. We've got even more people towards the end of the show coming in as well. So that's incredible to see. Please do look on the playback. I will timestamp the show to help you guys look through it. But as always, guys, make sure you look after each other. Make sure you have a great evening or great morning, a great day. And as always, folks, God bless you. Take care, folks.